You've got food and drinks, everything you need, and then with all the action going on with the basketball, 18 LED screens, and right above my dome right now is a big screen that sits at about 165 inches. So what that means is that everything you need is right here. No interruptions, just good basketball, good times, and plenty of action. And this is where the action never stops, Spirit Mountain Casino. So get down here and join me and hang out. And I do appreciate your time. A lot of different things I want to get to today. Also, happy opening day, my friends. The Mariners are going to be in action tonight. They'll host the Guardians at T-Mobile Park as they kick off their season. Logan Gilbert is going to be on the mound for Seattle. And we've got the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Dodgers coming up on Peacock at 5:30 from Los Angeles. And plenty of games that are in action right now. There are a few finals from earlier today. Mets over the Pirates 11-7. Brewers ripped the White Sox 14-2. Nationals over the Cubbies 10-4 in Chicago. And the Orioles topped the Twins in Baltimore 2-1. So baseball is here. March Madness is here. And the Trailblazers are entering their stretch run here with 9 games, 8 games to play. 8 games now after last night. And they're looking pretty good. They're playing good basketball. They're playing the way against these bum teams, the way that you want them to. They're dominating, and they've got back-to-back wins now over the Nets and last night over the Bucks. 2 teams focused on lottery position, and they won both games by 30 or more. And that's really what you want to do. When you play bad teams, you want to dominate. And what I like about the game last night, not perfect. They're still, trying to piece everything together to get to that level that I've talked about where they're playing their best basketball going into the play-in tournament. But in the first half last night, I love the spacing on offense. I thought the ball movement was really crisp. They had 17 assists in the first half, 30 for the game. That's kind of my key number. If you hit 30 assists, that's getting the job done. The Blazers moved the ball really well. I thought their defense in the first half, similar to what we saw against the Nets, lackluster. Not completely dialed in, but they had a big night from Donovan Clingan, 14 points, 15 boards, and 4 steals. Scoot led the way with 23 points coming off the bench in his role, and then Jeremy Grant with 18. Multiple players made solid contributions. Denny looked good. He looks healthy, and he continues to attack with the physicality that we've grown to love from Denny. So the Blazers now, you got 2 more games on this 4-game homestand. Dallas tomorrow night, bad team. And then the Wizards on Sunday, one of the worst teams. You got to get these wins. And the reason why is because they're trying to keep pace with the LA Clippers. And the LA Clippers right now are a half game up on Portland in the NBA standings for the play-in. The Clippers are in 8th and Portland is in 9th. And for the Blazers, I think the best case scenario right now is to put yourself in a position to where you can become 8th. So you need 1 win to get into the postseason. Clippers sit at 37-36, and right now the Trailblazers at 37-37. So the Clippers have 9 games remaining. The Blazers have 8. But 2 games on the schedule for the Blazers against the Clippers. They got the Clippers coming up on Tuesday down in L.A. at Intuit Dome, and then they'll host the Clippers on Friday, April 10th, right before their season finale. So for the Blazers to get to 8th, they're probably going to have to beat the Clippers twice. That's really what it's going to come down to. Now, unfortunately, the Clippers are a tough matchup for Portland, and that's going to be tough, especially if Kawhi is engaged, healthy, and playing, because he's been pretty dominant down the stretch. So they're tough matchups, but these are the type of games that we talked about. Playing in bigger games that have higher stakes and this young core, trying to learn how to win these type of games for playoff positioning and then in the play-in, winning high-pressure moments to be able to move on and become one of the top 8 teams in the Western Conference. So, again, real quick, for those who are still trying to figure out this whole play-in tournament situation, it's pretty simple once you get it down. Right now, you have 10 teams in the Western Conference who are qualifying for the postseason. All 10 teams are in. The rest of the teams in the West have been eliminated. Pelicans, Grizzlies, Mavericks, Jazz, and Kings are all out. Your top 10 teams, Oklahoma City, they're 2 games in front of San Antonio. The Spurs are 2nd. Lakers right now 3rd in the West. Denver's 4th. Minnesota 5th. And the Houston Rockets are 6th. So 1 through 6 is automatically into the postseason. The play-in tournament involves teams 7 through 10, both in the Western and Eastern Conference. Right now, the 7th team in the Western Conference is Phoenix. They are 3 games in front of the Clippers, who are 8th. The Blazers are a half game behind the LA Clippers. They're in 9th, and the Golden State Warriors are in 10th, and they're 1.5 games behind the Blazers, 2 games back of the Clippers, and they're pretty much done. I would say that the Warriors are pretty much set in 10th, and the real battle is going to be between the Clippers and the Blazers for the 8th, 9th spot. Now, how it works is after the regular season is over on April 12th, you're going to have the play-in tournament before the playoffs begin. The 7th seed, the Phoenix Suns, will host the 8th seed, either the Clippers or the Trailblazers. The winner of the 7-8 game moves on to the playoffs, and they'll be the 7th seed in the Western Conference. Then you have the 9 and 10 teams. Right now it's Portland, and then the 10th team is Golden State. Portland would host Golden State, and if the Blazers win that game, they would play the loser of the Phoenix-LA game, and the winner of that game becomes the 8th seed in the Western Conference playoffs. That's how it works. So that's the setup. That's what the Blazers are playing for, and they've got an opportunity that is in front of them. The good news is that they're getting great play from some of their young guys. Denny Avdia is rounding in the form. Donovan Clingan has been one of the most valuable players on the roster throughout the season, and he's improved in every aspect of his game this year. And I actually think now that if you think about the things that he does on the floor, he might be the most irreplaceable Blazer right now. And when I talked to him a couple of days ago, I said, hey, of all these different areas, whether it's three-point shooting, conditioning, which has allowed you to play bigger minutes, the rim protection, the rebounding, the three-point shooting, all of these different things, embracing a more emotional, intimidator role, which he's done a heck of a job of, what are you most proud of? And he said the rebounding. And I thought about that answer, and I love that he said rebounding because I think that's the single skill that he does that has the greatest impact on the Trailblazers right now. And the reason why is that he's probably the best offensive rebounder in the NBA, and when you rebound the way that he does, it allows the Blazers to get their second chance point opportunities. And they need that because they're not a great shooting team. Now, last night they shot the ball well. I think they were 12 of 23 from downtown in the first half. When they're making threes, like most teams in the NBA, they're tough to beat. As for the Bucks and the Nets, I shudder for anyone that's paid full price to see either one of those teams play basketball lately. You know, these teams that are in full-on tank mode right now just god-awful. Sean Hyken is going to join me tomorrow on the Rip City Drive, and you want to make sure you listen to that. He'll join me tomorrow at 4:20. He did a deep dive on Tom Dundon, where he went back and listened to and reviewed multiple interviews to gather kind of an idea of what he's going to be all about when he becomes and is confirmed as a Trailblazers owner, which is coming up here in the next few days. And then we're going to hear from him publicly. So we'll talk to him about that. He found some very interesting findings to kind of get an idea of what he's about. And then he was also at the league meetings, and it's been nice to hear Commissioner Silver expand more on what's going on in Portland with the state, city, and county, the local governments, ratcheting up their support to get the funding necessary for the new Moda Center and the improvements that are needed. You can tell that they definitely want the I-5 rivalry to exist, that it's good for the NBA to have two teams in the Northwest with Seattle and Portland. And the owners voted and agreed to explore the possibilities of expansion. And it looks like Seattle and Las Vegas will be the two cities that will get NBA teams. So I would say, based on the findings and everything that we've known and what we've been telling you, is that it sure sounds like the Trailblazers are going to be here long term. The other thing that Sean uncovered is that, according to what the commissioner was talking about, that the Paul Allen Trust had no desire to entertain offers from groups that wanted to buy the team that had an interest in moving the Trailblazers out of Portland. So that could be a very good thing. So you get the funding for the arena. You get the improvements that are necessary. Dundon signs that extended lease of 20 years, and then the Trailblazers are set and ready to go. But we'll do a deep dive with Sean Hyken tomorrow. I think that's going to be very compelling. All right, if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. If you've got a question about any of the games, the spreads, the numbers that are out there right now for the games coming up tonight or tomorrow in the Sweet 16, and you got a question for Justin, reach out at 88528, or you can call at 503-248-0620. I'm live here at the BetMGM Sportsbook here at Spirit Mountain Casino. I've got giveaways. Get down here. 18 LED screens, the big screen at 165 inches. And we're going to talk about it next with Justin Ballenger. We'll go in-depth and get his take on the action, where the money's going. That's all coming up next from Spirit Mountain Casino on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, this is my favorite time of the week. I'm here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino. My man Justin Ballenger, the sportsbook manager here, is with us, and you got to get down here and enjoy the games for the Sweet 16 tonight and tomorrow, Elite 8 Saturday and Sunday, open seating, no reservation required, big cushy chairs, Vegas-style sportsbook, and all of the action you could possibly want. In-game betting, parlays, teasers, totals, sides, and, of course, you've got the futures as well. And the tournament is a lot of fun where you can get in on the action here at Spirit Mountain Casino. And, Justin, it's great to see you again, my friend. First of all, props to you. You went 3-1 on your best bets last week, and it was pretty good because you had both Texas schools, Texas and Texas A&M, who were able to defeat BYU and also St. Mary's to get the outright wins. And then UCF did just enough to cover the spread against UCLA. And the only game you missed on was the one that was like a dead bet 5 minutes in with St. John's just hammering their competition. But 3-1's pretty good out of the gates in the tournament.
Yeah, hey, I'll take anything above 50%, especially in a sport like this.
All right, so trends. You and I were talking about NIL and the impact on the tournament last week. But here's what's fascinating to me. Favorites so far, 39-9 straight up, and the favorites are covering the spread in the tournament so far at more than 60%. That's very un-tournament-like. Normally you get massive upsets and underdogs do very well against the number, but this year that's not the case.
Yeah, it's kind of just, been really chalky, and we kind of talk about every week, what is NIL doing to the sport, and, if you look at all the teams left, their budgets are 7 and 8 figures for these rosters they have. It's there's no Cinderella per se. 11 seed Texas. We were just talking about how Texas is their budget's as big as anyone's.
Of course, yeah. So I don't consider them like a Cinderella story. I would say Iowa at this point.
Yeah, if you had to choose one, just I don't know. They think more football, I guess, when you still think of Iowa. But
with the NIL, here's what I'm wondering is instead of having like a like a VCU or a Butler, maybe now the new Cinderella for the time being until we resolve this whole issue with the NIL in college sports. Maybe it's going to be the lower level, bigger conference schools like in Iowa, who's not a traditional power in basketball. Maybe that's what you're going to find with some of these games as we proceed into the future with the tournament.
Yeah, I agree. If you remember, like a few years ago, they had that 11 seed NC State run where they went, I believe, all the way to the Final Four. I think we're going to see a lot more things like that.
Yeah.
Even like the High Point, and it's like they're not even making it out of the first weekend anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing, especially being a Gonzaga fan. The way that their whole program started was because of the Cinderella, but times change, and the NIL is really making it tough on the smaller schools.
That's true, and props to you. Here's why I respect you. You're a huge Gonzaga fan. You went to school there. You love the Zags, but ever since I started talking to you about the tournament before it began, you were concerned about Gonzaga, and that's because they've been so nicked up by the injuries that you just didn't think they'd have enough juice to be able to get over the top, and that certainly was the case.
Yeah. It was weird. It was nothing on the defensive end this year. It was all the worries were the offensive end, and once they lost Huff, it was just I think they were still looking for an identity, 2 months later, and it just unfortunately bit them.
Okay, we'll get into the Sweet 16 games here in a moment. Opening day in Major League Baseball. Pretty awesome. You and I both watch a lot of Dodger baseball. I'm fascinated by their whole operation and the amount of money that they spend on their roster. But they're plus, 220 right now to win the whole thing?
Yeah, plus 220 to win the whole thing.
That's insanity. They might win the whole thing, but there's no value to take the Dodgers at plus 220 right now.
No, I mean, I wouldn't suggest that to anyone. And it's like last year, right? You lose at game 1 in a playoff series, and you're 3-1, odds to win the whole World Series. It's like when you see 220, it's almost worth, waiting the 7-8 months just to see if there's a slip up or something,
I think what I like about what the Dodgers are doing, I was thinking about this, it all makes sense to me now. They have this philosophy where it's like they know right now, day one, that they're going to make the postseason. Mm-hmm. So instead of worrying about winning as many games as possible and getting home field advantage, their whole thought process, if you look at how they manage their roster, anytime a pitcher or anyone's got inflammation in their arm, their knee, anywhere, they just send them right to the DL.
Yeah.
They are willing to load manage Freddie Freeman, so he's got more juice in the tank at the end of the year because he's getting older. Mm-hmm. And then by doing that, you may lose some games along the way, but at least postseason time, the hope is let's be healthy so we're in a position where we can go out there and win a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And they bring in a Kyle Tucker this offseason. They're not selling these guys on, hey, you're going to come over and be the stat leader, the MVP of the league. It's, you're kind of just an important part of the puzzle, headed by Ohtani. And what is really cool is they get these guys to buy into that. It's just kind of, after 3-4 years of them accumulating guys, it's kind of this embarrassment of riches now where, you feel a tweak, take 2 weeks off and we'll bring you back, because we got the bodies.
Now, the interesting part about baseball is, I love baseball, and I know a lot of people that love baseball, but people love to gamble on football, college football, and the NFL. That's number one. Then the tournament that we're experiencing right now. But baseball, there's a lot of opportunities there, and I've been told by a couple of guys, they're like, hey, I do really well with baseball, and they follow it day by day. So for the guys who come down here who are baseball bettors, what are some of the things that they like to bet on? How can you get into baseball, and what's a good way to start doing that, if you want to get in and where you can have action every day of the week?
Yeah, I mean, and that the other cool thing about baseball is it's not just night games. There's so many. There's almost
morning and day games.
Morning and day games, yeah. So, we in the sportsbook industry, we kind of complain when it's baseball season, but during football season, you don't come in at 10 a.m. and have live games going on. And
that's right.
I think that's what's really cool about baseball, is that you can literally be betting all day long on it. The struggle that I have with it personally is just I can't keep up with how many games, and every day of the week. So for me, it's kind of hard. And then I do feel like if you are following it every day, you do have an advantage on a sport like that.
Yeah. So
for me personally, because I'm not able to follow it as closely as I would like to, I personally don't bet it that much. But it's a great summer option, if you're looking for wagers to place.
That's pretty awesome. Now, do you like futures with baseball? How do you normally approach it yourself?
Baseball for me, I it's kind of one of those things where if I have an evening off and I know that there's a game on, maybe I'll handicap it and I'll bet that one-off game because I'm going to be watching it or something.
Yeah.
But I don't really go out of my way to force any bets, I guess, during baseball season. And then being a Dodgers fan, it's so hard, like we just touched, it's so hard to bet those futures.
Yeah.
And I don't actually necessarily think other teams are going to win, but the Dodgers price is never worth it. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm more just a fan during baseball, I guess, than any other sport.
Well, I love what you told me last year, instead of jumping on the Dodgers at the beginning of the year when there's no value, wait until Game 6 of the World Series when you get them at plus 350 to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's genius.
It could be the best price all season, and it's 2 days before the end of the year.
That's so great. All right. First off, last week I thought here at Spirit Mountain Casino was great because for the opening days of the tournament, the sportsbook was packed, man. I love the atmosphere, the energy in the air. It was fun.
Very fun. Yeah, it was the Kentucky Santa Clara game last week. I mean, the sportsbook was just jumping on that back and forth. So it's a great environment to be in.
All right, let's take a look at some of these games. We start with Texas and Purdue, the 2-11 matchup. And with this game here, I look at Texas as very fortunate to having gotten to the Sweet 16 based on how the schedule lined up for them. And with Purdue, I still look at them as one of the best teams remaining in the tournament. But the problem is they're laying 8.5 points. What are you seeing so far in this game?
Yeah, we opened at 7.5. It's been bet up to 8.5 there. It's kind of 3-1 in terms of money on Purdue at this point. I kind of agree with you in what you said. I mean, I know Texas beat BYU and Gonzaga, but I thought both versions of those teams, I mean, I just touched on Gonzaga a little bit, but even BYU, they have 2 or 3 season-ending. I just felt like Texas did kind of get a lucky-ish draw.
Yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they played great to be where they're at, but I'm not as in love with this Texas team, and you see 8.5 points at this point in the tournament, and you usually be like, "That, well, give me that." But I don't know. I feel like Purdue's offensive strength can kind of pull away in a game like this.
Yeah, I guess the best way I can explain it, Justin, is that when I look at all the matchups, the games tonight and tomorrow, the only thing that would shock me is if Texas upset Purdue. That's the only game where if you had an underdog get the win, it would surprise me. I think that's the only game.
Yeah, I mean maybe Bama, Michigan, but yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
but here's the wild card for Bama. I agree, Michigan's the superior team, but if Bama hits another 19 threes,
right.
It changes the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, they would have beaten anyone in the country last week. So
interesting. Okay, so we start with that, but you said the money right now is 3-1 towards Purdue.
Mm-hmm, correct.
So your instincts would tell you you would be concerned about laying 8.5.
I would, yeah. But I can tell you, though, the number of bets is actually about 50-50. So it's just the money that's really skewed. So, that gives you a little bit of more, you're more okay, I guess, to take the favorite when at least the bet totals are the same.
Okay, that's great. So that game's going to tip off at 4:10. That is out of the West region. The 2 seed Purdue taking on 11 seed Texas. Now, the next matchup is going to be at 4:30, and this one's out of the South, Justin. It's number 9 Iowa taking on number 4 Nebraska. This right here is, well, I think Iowa is one of the Cinderella stories of the tournament thus far. All the metrics would point to Nebraska as being the better team. The interesting part about the Huskers is that their first 2 tournament wins in school history came this year, and now here they are in their very first Sweet 16.
Right.
What do you guys have the line at right now? Is it less than 2?
Yep, we're Nebraska minus 1.5. It opened at 2.5, so it has come down. We're really lopsided on Nebraska here, like 90% lopsided of the money. So, it's come down across the country. We're still seeing a heavy amount of money come in on Nebraska, so it's kind of doing the opposite little line move of where the money's coming in, at least from what we're seeing at Spirit Mountain.
That is very interesting. So the line has come down, but yet 90% of the money is on one side, Nebraska. Mm-hmm. This is one of those games where I looked at and I thought, you know what? I kind of like Iowa on the money line. It's basically just a pick a winner situation. Yeah. I kind of like the value there with Iowa plus 105 or 110, whatever you can get it at. What do you think about this game?
I mean, and it's a conference game, right? So
yes.
It's like there's no surprises. These teams know each other really well. I mean, conference game, I could see either team winning by 2, either team running away. I think this game's going to be fantastic. And I really don't want to have to choose a side.
But based on the money movement here at Spirit Mountain, with 90% being on Nebraska, and then you get the reverse line movement with the money dropping, those indicators would tell you that the right side may be Iowa.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the indicators definitely pointing towards Iowa.
All right, Justin Ballenger, Sportsbook Manager here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino. Next game coming up will be at 6:45 tonight. This one's out of the West. The 4 seed Arkansas taking on the 1 seed Arizona. And right now the Cats, where are they at? 7.5? What do you got them at?
We're at 8.5.
8.5.
8.5 for Arizona. Yeah. So we opened at 8.5. So we've kind of stayed steady with that number all week. A little more even than the other games, about 2-1 Arizona money. So I mean, still pretty lopsided in terms of a one-off game. But nothing close like what Iowa and Nebraska was.
That's so interesting. Of the 1 seeds that are remaining, you've got Michigan, Duke, and, of course, you've got Arizona. Do you think do you look at any of those 3 teams and think they're vulnerable?
Yes and no. I mean, I feel like Duke's the easy answer, because of the first game. They were trailing against
They did
Siena.
not look good. Their defense was awful.
Right. They have the couple injuries, that have been lingering on them. And to be honest, I feel like Arizona and Michigan, for the most part, just kind of rolled, last week. So if I had to choose a more vulnerable one, it feels like Duke. Duke's still stuck in that region, with Hurley, Tom Izzo, Rick Pitino. So
yeah.
I mean, it's just a gauntlet of a region. So I'd say Duke.
The other thing I like about Arizona in this matchup is that they're not relying upon the three-point shot, and they're really good on the interior, and that's something that has been a weakness throughout the year for Arkansas. So I'm wondering if Arizona is going to be able to take advantage of the paint and get some of those easy buckets where a lot of teams in the tournament are three-point reliant. Zona's not one of those teams.
Zona's not, no, and they've been really balanced in both their games so far. And I don't know, Arkansas can't give it up. So I feel like if Arizona can get their balanced attack going, they'll be okay.
Are you surprised that there's not more of a lopside money-wise on Arizona in this one?
Kind of, actually, because going into the tournament, they were one of our bigger liabilities. We have seen steady action on them all year, and, being kind of West Coast, we always touch on that in the other sports. So it is a little more surprising. However, I have heard kind of a weird amount of people say they really like this Arkansas team. And then, I always remember there's Calipari and all the 5 stars.
Yep.
So, there's makes sense why it's not as lopsided. But from what I've watched, I don't know, Arizona's looked really good.
All right, the nightcapper tonight. I think this is the hardest game to handicap in the Sweet 16. Out of the South region, the number 3 seed Illinois taking on the 2 seed Houston. It's going to be in Houston, so it's a home game for the Cougars. Here's what scares me about this game. I love Houston, and I think they got a great chance to win the championship, and they obviously can come out of their side of the bracket. Everything tells me that Houston is a give-me at -2.5, but I also know that the Illini are a quality opponent. So this one's a little bit nerve-wracking. Everything tells me Houston, which makes me a little bit nervous. What are you seeing on this one?
Yeah, so 2.5. They're favored by 2.5, which is actually the line we opened at. We are about 4-1 heavy on Houston, but like you said, when this matchup was first set, it's like Houston's just kind of rolled through their first 2 games. They looked so good, and I'm like, what? So is Illinois, And Illinois is playing, the same level of competition. Illinois was top 15 all year. The thing that I think is really unique about Illinois is they have so many big guys, and they run like a unique. They're not a team that you see very often, I guess.
Yeah.
So I know Houston is all get in your face, defensively, don't leave you any spaces to breathe or anything like that. But I'm very curious how they're able to handle that, going against 7-footers, 6'10" guys. Like you said, this is a really hard game to handicap. I could see it going either way.
All right, that's the Thursday action. Texas, Purdue, Iowa, Nebraska. Both those games tip off in the 4 o'clock hour. In the 6 o'clock hour at 6:45, Arkansas and Arizona in the West. And also from the South, you've got the 7:05 tip with Illinois and Houston. Now, the games tomorrow on Friday as we get into the second half of the Sweet 16. At 4:10 tomorrow, the 5 seed out of the East, St. John's taking on number 1 Duke. And what do you guys have the line at right now with Duke and St. John's?
Duke -6.5 right now. Another one that opened at that number and hasn't moved, at least at Spirit Mountain. So we're heavy on Duke money, but
yes,
we've actually taken more St. John's bets.
What does that tell you?
I tend to like to follow the money.
Yes.
Not the
ticket
number of
count.
bets. So, first, my initial view of this game is kind of screaming Duke is the right side.
Uh-huh.
But, as I touched, I think St. John's is kind of they're like Arkansas. I feel like those two are kind of the wild cards in all this, where it wouldn't be surprising if they both won 2 or 3 more games.
Yeah.
But I could also kind of see them, laying their egg because they're playing the 1 seed. So, I don't know. I look at Duke, and it seems like the right side. I just worry about St. John's a little bit because of the X factor that they can bring.
Well, what do you have the total set at for St. John's and Duke?
We're at 141.5.
See, I like the under in this game with St. John's and Duke because Duke is slowing it down. They've had to do that and change the way they play a bit with some of the injuries they've suffered. And Rick Pitino has proven that come tournament time, he likes to slow it down as well. So I'm wondering if this game, pace-wise, might lend itself to more of an under-type play. That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, we'll see. St. John's also, if I'm not mistaken, both games they went through pretty long droughts.
Yes.
As well. So might be something to keep an eye on there.
Do you have any big money coming in on any of the totals or not really?
Not really.
People don't like to bet totals.
Yeah, not. We did. We got a little bit of money on the under in the Arizona-Arkansas game.
Oh, interesting.
But that's also the total is so much higher in that game than any of the other games. Where a lot of times I think people kind of they seek out the highest total and they'll bet the under, or they'll seek out the lowest total and bet the over type situation.
Okay, so Duke, everything screams to Justin that Duke is probably the right side there. Next game up tomorrow at 4:35 out of the Midwest, Justin. It's the 4 seed Alabama taking on the 1 seed Michigan. And I'm with you. I think Michigan is a quality team. The big wild card here is Alabama and their 3-point shooting. If they make threes, it could turn everything upside down. But on paper, this would look like a matchup that favors Michigan.
Absolutely. If Alabama just plays a normal game against Texas Tech and beats them by 5 points or something, I think this spread might be 4 or 5 points higher even, the way Michigan's looked.
Yes.
But we're down at 9.5-point favorites for Michigan right now. Money, we're still about 3-1 high on Michigan.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't, when you have like such an anomaly of a 3-point game, I don't personally expect to see that happen 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of leaning Michigan here myself, but Bama, I think it was last year too, to maybe the Elite Eight game when they made the Final Four. I'm pretty sure they had 100-something points, 20-something threes there. So it's like, it's not a flash in the pan when they do that. They're capable of it.
Yeah.
So, you got to be wary.
Okay, next 2 games up tomorrow, 6:45 out of the East, the 3-seed Michigan State against the 2-seed UConn. This is a terrific game. What are the Huskies favored by here at Spirit Mountain?
We are at 1.5.
Wow.
So very close. It is our most evenly bet game of the week so far, actually, in terms of money. And 5 bets separated by the 2 teams.
Wow.
So,
2 great programs, 2 legendary coaches, and 2 teams that play really hard.
Yeah, and I think both of them have had both highs and lows this year, so it really makes for that's a really interesting game.
I don't have a feel for this one. What's your initial take on this matchup?
This is just personally speaking, I kind of leaning Michigan State. I feel like UConn's looked more vulnerable, I guess, in their 2 games. Even their first game against Furman, it was almost tied with 4 or 5 minutes left. And I felt like last game when they played UCLA, UCLA was without their big guy, and Alex Caravan, he did so much for UConn.
Yeah.
If you take him out, I don't think they're playing in this game. So
wow.
I just feel like UConn's a little more leaky coming into this game than Michigan State has looked.
All right, the nightcapper out of the Midwest, number 6 Tennessee taking on the 2-seed Iowa State. Cyclones have been dominant in the tournament thus far. There could be some injury concerns in their backcourt. What are you seeing here on this matchup?
Yeah, we're Iowa State minus 3.5, and they're actually about 4.5 times the amount of money that Tennessee has gotten. More than 3-1 in terms of bets as well. I don't actually know the 100% like injury status of if anything's certain, if Jefferson's in or out.
I haven't seen anything definitive on that.
Yeah,
but I know he's critical to their attack.
Yeah, and I don't know. I always feel like when you lose a player of that caliber, sometimes that first game afterwards, everyone kind of has that morale boost.
Yeah,
you almost
so guys play above their level. Yep.
So I'm curious to see, can Iowa State keep that up? Because Tennessee's, they're a 6 seed, but they're as good a 6 seed as anyone.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're great games.
All right. So of the games, then, would you say that you like, in terms of indicators, you would like Iowa over Nebraska based on the indicators the most of the 8 games we're going to get tonight and tomorrow, or is it something else?
I think the Duke one, just breaking it down there and seeing the numbers, that one probably jumps out to me the most.
Okay.
In terms of like what I look for in line moves when placing a bet. But like I said, I don't know, my gut really tells me Michigan State in that game too.
Okay.
So those might be my 2.
All right. So
2
Duke
and
Michigan State, and then keep an eye on Nebraska and Iowa tonight. What he said about that is that here at Spirit Mountain Casino, 90% of the money's on Nebraska, but you're getting the reverse line movement where the line is moving towards Iowa, which is
correct.
Always a fascinating watch.
Yes. It's always, like you said, it's always one to watch.
Okay, so for people that are coming down, what time will you guys be open tomorrow, Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday for the Elite Eight?
Yeah, so we're opening at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We will be open, through that at least all the half times of the latest game of the night. So we'll be open till 9 or so tomorrow night. Saturday we're going to be open at 8 a.m. Sunday we'll be open at 8 a.m. as well,
awesome.
And we'll be open for all of the Elite Eight games, start to finish.
Gosh, I love it so much. All right, Spirit Mountain Casino. Everything you need is right here. You've got sides, totals, parlays, teasers, in-game betting on the kiosk machines. They've got the counter where you can walk up to place your bets. Stadium Bar and 10 Barrel Brewing is right next door. Open seating, no reservation required. Big cushy chairs, 18 LED screens, and the big screen, which is right above us right now, 165 inches. It is the perfect place to come out and watch the tournament. And Justin, as always, man, I love having you on the show and talking about these games.
Thank you so much.
Because you're a college basketball nerd, aren't you? You love this stuff.
I am so excited for the games to start tonight. night.
Dude, it's going to be great. All right, thank you. And then you're coming back on Saturday, so we'll get a chance to talk some Elite Eight action.
Yeah, we'll see how the picks do.
All right, we'll come back on the Rip City Drive. I'm live here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino. Big thanks to Justin Ballenger, the Sportsbook manager. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. I know. All right, Rip City Drive. Big thanks to Justin Ballenger here at Spirit Mountain Casino, the sportsbook manager. He went through the games, and I want to remind you of what he said. We both agreed that Purdue minus the 8.5 on paper looks like the right play because Texas, based on matchups, very fortunate in terms of pathway to get to the Sweet 16, and Purdue is one of the best teams remaining in the tournament. The most intriguing thing that he said was with this matchup coming up at 4:30 with Iowa and Nebraska. It's out of the South region. Nebraska is favored by 1.5. Now, here at Spirit Mountain Casino, 90% of the money is on Nebraska. It's also the game, he just told me, where they've taken the most money on. Out of all the games in the Sweet 16, more money's been bet on Iowa and Nebraska here at Spirit Mountain than any other game. But the weird part here is that you have money going one direction, Nebraska, but the line is coming down towards Iowa. So the indicators would tell you to play Iowa in this game. So that's the one that intrigues me based on everything that Justin said. Very similar to what happened in the Orange Bowl with Oregon and Texas Tech, where right before tip-off, about 30 minutes prior to kickoff in that game, you had the line dropping severely towards Texas Tech, and then it went the opposite direction where Oregon got the win. So just something to keep an eye on and keep in mind. Arkansas and Arizona. He likes Arizona minus the points in this game. I lean Arizona as well. I like their interior game. They're not relying upon the three, and based on metrics, Arkansas has a difficulty defending the paint. So I do like Arizona. With Illinois and Houston, I have no feel on this game. I think it's the hardest game to handicap and call. They're playing a home game in Houston. The Cougars are one of my favorite teams because of how they play with their toughness and their defense and their rebounding. But the Illini are a legit squad. The other game that he likes, Duke, based on the metrics he said is probably his favorite play, minus the 6.5 against St. John's. And he likes Michigan State over UConn. And Michigan State right now getting a 1.5 against the Huskies. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Brian O, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me, and we'll talk ball coming up at 5:20. I appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday afternoon. The weather and the traffic around town today was phenomenal. I just counted my blessings. It was awesome. All right, 503-248-0620. The Blazers back in action tomorrow. The Mavericks are in town. That game will tip off from Moda at 7. Chris Burkhart will have game day tomorrow evening at 5, live from Moda Center here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, I'm live from the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino for Sweet 16 action, which is coming up in a few minutes. Live 3 to 6, back here on Saturday, 10 to 1. You can join me for the madness, parlays, teasers, totals, in-game betting, all of the action you want. I've got giveaways. There'll be food and drink specials. Love it down here. Justin Ballenger was with me in hour number 1. He'll be back on Saturday at 12:20. Trailblazers have won 5 of their last 6. They hammered the Bucks last night by 31. 23 for Scoot. They're back at 500. They host the Mavericks tomorrow night. Tip-off at 7. Chris Burkhardt will have game day live at 5 from Moda Center. Opening day in baseball, the Mariners in action tonight. First pitch, 7:10 from T-Mobile Park as they take on the Guardians. Logan Gilbert is going to be on the bump for Seattle. Checking the scoreboard right now. Middle of the 9th in Houston. Angels lead the Astros 3-zip. Bottom of the 8th in St. Louis. The Cardinals 9 and the Rays 7. All right, live here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino. This is the best place to hang out and watch tournament action. And the Sweet 16 is going to kick off here in a few minutes. I absolutely love it. So I want you to come down and join me. I'm going to be here from 3 until 6 today before I start hosting the To The Hoop drawings tonight here at Spirit Mountain Casino. I'm back down here on Saturday live from 10 to 1. Justin Ballenger, the sportsbook manager, joined me in hour number 1. And the games that he really is intrigued by that are on tap for tonight, the Iowa-Nebraska game, which is going to tip off at 4:30. Very interesting here where Nebraska is a 1.5-point favorite. The line is moving towards Iowa, but the majority of bets, 90% of them here, the money on Nebraska. So indicators would point towards Iowa in that game. Tomorrow, he's got 2 games that he loves. He likes Duke minus the points over St. John's. And he likes Michigan State plus 1.5 against UConn. Everything you want is down here. Live in-game betting on the kiosk machines. They've got the counter where you can walk up to place your action. Parlays, teasers, totals, sides. You've got the open seating, cushy chairs, 18 LED screens, and the big screen's 165 inches. And as I tell you guys, you probably don't want to be at home sitting on your duff for around 6 hours watching nothing but basketball. Your wife may find that a bit annoying. So come down here, hang out, we'll have a good time, and you can chill and make it a weekend down here at Spirit Mountain Casino with Sweet 16 action tonight and tomorrow and the Elite 8, which will be on Saturday and Sunday. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, is going to join me coming up at 5:20. I just came up with an idea thanks to Tony out in Boring. As you know, we had a free throw shooting contest a few years ago on the campus of Portland State University, and he only made 49 out of 100. So he's known now as 49. He talked a lot of junk, and he made 49 out of 100. I think my final tally was 67. So I crushed him. I'm going to offer to him the opportunity to rematch and have a free throw shooting contest. And I'm going to offer that up coming up at 5:20. I will travel to Vegas. I will go wherever he's at. Wherever he wants to do the competition, I am in. But I would like a rematch with Brian Noe. So we'll talk a tournament with Brian Noe. I'll offer up the opportunity to rematch me at the free throw shooting contest, and we will go from there. The Blazers are going to be back in action tomorrow. They're on a bit of a heater right now because they're playing some bad teams, and they're taking advantage of the opportunity. Back-to-back wins of 30 or more against the Nets and Bucks. And last night, a number of different guys stepped up. Scoot Henderson with a team-high 23, 14 points, 15 boards, 4 steals from Donovan Clingan. They had 17 assists in the first half, 30 for the game. The ball movement was crisp, and I like the spacing. Now, the Blazers, again, my expectations for them are high. They're going to finish with a winning record this year. I predicted 45 wins before the year began. They're probably going to finish with 42 or 43, but I did not know before the year that they were going to lead the league or be among the league leaders. I think they're third in the league right now with games lost to injury. But my whole focus right now is this team being at their best when the play-in tournament hits here in a few weeks. That's really what I care most about. Yes, I would like to see them finish 8th and be in the 7-8 game for a chance to jump and be the 7th seed in the Western Conference playoffs. But if they wind up at 9 or 10, that's irrelevant to me. I just want them to be in a position to where they're playing their best basketball. And the problem is right now is that while they're taking advantage of these opportunities and beating up on some bad teams, I still don't think they're not playing their best basketball. I thought the game on Monday against Brooklyn might have been one of their worst played games of the year, and they still won the game by more than 30 points. And what I mean by that is, and again, I've talked about this, but it's important to me because it's like you see the way they play, they've got to clean some things up if they want to be in a position where they can, compete with Phoenix and LA in the play-in tournament. They've got to be better. And so my expectations are high. So anything that I say, it's only out of love because I want this team to have a chance to get into the postseason and give this young core a chance to compete at a higher level. So of the things that I've looked at that I want to see improvement on, if I just give you, I think, 5 different ideas, I think first off I look at their mindset. And when I say mindset, I'm focused on how they start games. How do they come out of the gate? Are they focused? Are they competing with the right type of intensity? Are they engaged? Are they active defensively? Are they coming out with the right energy? The mindset. So that would be number 1 on the list. Next up, I would say defense, and I want to see them remain connected defensively. You got to have that connectivity there. And I haven't been impressed, especially in the first half of the game Monday against Brooklyn, the game last night against Milwaukee. They've got to stay connected and show better focus on that end of the floor. I mean, they were better in the second half last night. They were better in the second half defensively on Monday, but they're capable of being better. And so I want to see more intensity, being connected, and showing more resistance to teams, especially when they come out of the gate in the first quarter, second quarter, so they can make sure they get off to the good starts. The other area, and this is always going to be critical for them, it's rebounding, particularly with the offensive glass. And they were dominant last night with the rebounding. Part of that is because of Donovan Clingan, 14 points, 15 rebounds. The rebounding is so critical for them because when they get offensive rebounds, it allows them to get the second chance point opportunities. And they need that because they're not a very good shooting team. And that's why Donovan Clingan is so critical to everything they do on both ends. But rebounding is absolutely critical. So mindset, how they come out and start games, right focus, right energy, it's critical. As Michael Holton talks about, energy, effort, and execution, right? The 3 E's of basketball. They need the energy and the effort from the start, and that comes with the mindset. And as pros, it's not the coach's job to make sure their players are motivated. As pros, you got to come out with the right energy, the right effort, and that mindset's got to be proper. So you definitely want that. And then the defense, you got to stay connected. The rebounding, especially on the offensive glass with Donovan Clingan, critical for the second chance point opportunities. I would say the next up on the list, you got to make free throws. They were better last night. They missed just 6. But in the game on Monday, they missed 12 free throws against Brooklyn. And this team has had games this year that they've lost because of an inability to make free throws. You've got to be better in that department. And then finally, this is the most pressing matter right now, and it's been their biggest bugaboo all year, but turnovers. They gave up 24 turnovers for 24 points on Monday. They turned it over 21 times last night. It's pretty simple, but if you're going to have a chance to compete against Phoenix and the LA Clippers and get through the NBA play-in tournament and make the postseason, you've got to be better in that category. The turnovers, which lead to easy buckets, the live ball turnovers, which create fast break opportunities for your opponents, they just simply, I don't expect perfection, but instead of turning it over 18, 19, or 20-plus times, can you get that number down to maybe somewhere between 10 and 15? Value each possession. They've got to be better in that department. And as I've said with the Blazers, these 5 items that I just listed off, those are the margins. Portland is not good enough to just show up based on talent alone and win games. They've got to be, focused on the margins and be better in these categories. So once again, it's mindset, how they start games. Are they engaged? Energy and effort. Defense, staying connected defensively to be better throughout the course of the entire game. Rebounding, especially with the offensive glass, to create those second chance point opportunities, making a higher percentage of your free throws, and limiting turnovers. And I would say that those are the elements right there. That's what I'm looking at from Portland. And the reason why I say that is that I'm not nitpicking. I'm just saying that they're playing pretty good basketball right now, but they're capable of much more. And the advantage they have as they continue down the stretch, their roster is pretty healthy, except for Shaden Sharp. And when you have health and you've got the same guys who are playing night in and night out, unlike the majority of the season, it allows for more continuity. Guys have a better understanding of what their role is going to be, which I think puts them at ease. And then for the coaching staff, especially Coach Splitter, you have a better idea of which combination of guys you want to go with in different situations. And I think that's helpful because then you kind of know, okay, I want to use this guy here. I want to use this lineup in this situation. You kind of know what you want to do. And for Coach Splitter, you can tell what his philosophy is over the last week or so because he's leaning on his veteran players in the fourth quarter in key situations. Guys like Jeremy, guys like Drew, guys that he trusts. And there you have it. If the Blazers can be better in those 5 areas, they're going to have a chance to compete and get through the play-in and become one of the top 8 seeds in the Western Conference and be a postseason team. And for me, look, I know if you match up with Oklahoma City or San Antonio, like that's going to be tough no matter who you match up with. But think about the value for these young guys to play in bigger moments, play in bigger games, and then have the experience of going through a 7-game playoff series where you're facing an opponent that's elite and you're having to face an opponent that's been scouting you and has come up with an entire game plan based on their crunching and all the data that the assistant staff does for your opposing team. The playoff basketball is totally different because of the preparation level the teams go through to get ready for the series. That's what makes the game so good and the competition so tough. Because if you have a weakness, the team that you're playing in the postseason is going to find it because of the deep dive they do on you. It's different than regular season basketball. And I think also what makes playoff basketball so difficult in the NBA is the fact that, these teams, the games are officiated differently. So you've got to adjust to the officiating. They allow more physicality, and it's just kind of a different brand of basketball. I mean, you know that. You've been watching games for years, right? So there you have it. Those are my 5 keys. Mindset and how they start the game. Defense, staying more connected. Rebounding, especially with the offensive boards. Making your free throws at a higher percentage, and limiting turnovers, especially of the live ball variety that turn into easy buckets for your opponents. All right, we're just underway with the Sweet 16. Purdue is an early 3-0 lead on Illinois, and we are a minute and 15 seconds into the game. They've just hit another 3, so Purdue an early 6-0 lead. Nebraska and Iowa will tip off at 4:30. I'm live here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino. Come down and join me. I got giveaways. I'm on air up until 6 o'clock, and I'm back here on Saturday from 10 until 1 for the Elite 8. It is your place to bet on college sports. Parlays, teasers, totals, sides, in-game betting, big cushy chairs, open seating, Vegas-style sportsbook. It's the best. All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, joins me at 5:20. When we come back, we're going to hear from Scoot Henderson coming off his game-high 23 points last night, team high, and he's playing some good basketball. And I like his attitude and his approach. He's got a good demeanor. I'm down with Scoot. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Brian No, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me coming up at 5:20. I'm live here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino. I'll be hosting the To the Hoop drawings coming up tonight with winners at 6, 7, and 8. And right now I'm here to take in and enjoy the Sweet 16 action. Texas and Purdue is underway. And right now Texas has a 20-16 lead on Purdue with 11:46 to play in the first half. So the action is underway. And this is the best place to check in on the action with parlays, teasers, totals, sides, in-game betting, everything you could possibly want in one place. So get down here and join me. I'll have giveaways coming up here closer to 6 o'clock. I'll be back down here on Saturday from 10 until 1 live as we take in more of the tournament. So I appreciate your time. Now, the Blazers right now making their push for the play-in tournament. They're officially in. It's just a matter of where they're going to finish. Will it be 7, 8, or 9? And right now they're taking care of business in this homestand that is very favorable with games against Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Dallas, and Washington. Dallas will be in town tomorrow, tip-off from Moda Center at 7. The Blazers won by 31 last night. Multiple players stepped up. Denny Avdia, Donovan Clingan was terrific with the double-double. Jeremy Grant scored well. They shot the ball well. 30 assists in the game. They did a lot of good things in that game. But Scoot Henderson continues to showcase what he can do. I thought the last couple of games for him, the way he controlled the pace, his passing, the way he was able to set up his teammates, his good vision, the energy he brought on both ends, even the aggressiveness on defense. You know, Scoot is finding a nice rhythm after missing most of the year with that hamstring injury. And last night had a team-high 23 points. I thought he was awesome, and he had a chance to talk after the game. Let's take a listen.
Tiago mentioned that you guys have kind of started to play like you – he used the phrase, understand the assignment. Do you think there's been a shift in sort of the focus and intensity with you guys over the last, say, week or so?
I think it's just we're trying to find a consistency in us playing, trying to get a groove, and that groove is us playing together. We knew that from the beginning, but I feel like now we're just kind of emphasizing that every single play matters, every possession matters, taking prize of the ball, make sure we're turn the ball over less and get more stops on the defensive end.
You guys have sort of openly talked about where you're at in the play-in race? Is that, I mean, how often does that come up?
Honestly, it's pretty often in our film sessions or whatever, but just Tiago preaching like, come on, this many games left. They're all gold, and we all understand that, and we all want to play in the playoffs and win a lot of games and get to that championship. That's my goal personally. I think we could do it, but I think for us it's just a matter of consistency and us playing together, 48 minutes plus whatever the case may be. So,
when did that shift that it started to be like, okay, the play-in? Like, when did that sort of that messaging just really change?
Last few weeks, I say. Yeah, last few weeks. Just knowing that. I mean, obviously, throughout the season, it gets very repetitive and things like that, and it's hard for even players and myself to just stay focused. So, I think, but this last few weeks, we all been pretty locked in on knowing that our assignment is playoff, play-in.
You also mentioned that the last few weeks you guys have had more consistent health. How has the rhythm for you guys changed, or like how has the energy changed over the last few weeks now that you've been playing together more consistently?
Comes with time. Everything with a routine comes with time, and everything with consistency comes with time. But man, that's the basketball guys helping us out a little bit, and everybody's dealing with their own injuries, man. We're all just pushing through. I say everybody got a little knick-knack here and there, knee, ankle, this and that arm. Everybody's going through something, and we just got to continue to push through. We know what we're capable of.
So what did you take away from last year's kind of playing push and coming up short, and how has that helped you during this stretch run?
I think just, like I said, every possession counts, treating every game like it counts, even the ones that's on a random Tuesday night or whatever. Just got to make sure we're all in, we're all locked in at the same time, and make sure we know that each game matters from here on out.
It seems like a pretty comfortable game for you tonight, also comfortable win for the team. Just you personally, what you found most helpful technical-wise, just come back for this 20-something game right, so far?
I say just for me, it's getting downhill. That kind of helps me open up my teammates, let them get open shots, and the more I'm aggressive, the more I see the lanes, the passing lanes, and things like that. And not even just on offense, on defense as well. The more I'm picking up the ball full court, locked in, like I said, basketball guys, they always going to repay.
You said making the pass and finding teammates is something that you're progressively seeking the opportunity, like making some more extra attention.
For sure. Obviously, it's if I got the lane, go lay the ball up, me first, and but honestly, I'm pretty much just creating a drive and a driving lane for myself, and then make sure I'm kicking out to whoever's open.
Also, you guys have the playing spot secure already. So, have you had any conversation with the Red?
Even higher. Yeah, we're trying to get to that 8-7. Yeah, cool.
There you go. There's Scoot Henderson. They're trying to get to the 7 or 8 spot. I'm okay with that. I love what Scoot Henderson is doing right now. I know a lot of fans. I just don't understand. Like, I understand the apprehension anytime your team takes a player high in the draft, but I just don't know how you can look at Scoot and have the word bust come across your mind. Like, I don't see it. All I see is a young player who's developing and getting better. I also know that when he came in the league, he was young. He also was coming from the G League, where I just don't think that properly prepares a player for NBA basketball. It's a different type of game, and then all of a sudden you get to this level against the type of competition you're facing. That's a big-time adjustment, and he's had a couple of nagging injuries, which has, impacted his growth a little bit. But here's why I've got a lot of faith in Scoot Henderson and what he's going to be able to do for the franchise. And I've talked about it before. His attitude, his approach, his work ethic, and not just to mention the God-given abilities with his physique and his, athleticism. He's incredible. But what makes him unique is that as a young player, he's very coachable. If you talk to anyone around the facility, they praise his work ethic and the time that he puts in on his game. But also, he's a young man who also listens to those who are older and have more experience. It could be veteran teammates. It could be coaches. But that type of attitude and approach, I just think when you combine the type of work ethic that he has with the right mindset and attitude and approach that he has with the God-given abilities, that, good things are going to come from that. Now, what does that mean in terms of what type of player he's going to be? Is he going to be a top 10 player in the NBA? Is he going to be a bona fide starter in the NBA? I don't know yet. I don't have enough data to tell you exactly what he's going to become, but I know he can be a productive, viable player in the NBA. And hopefully with growth, he'll become, the bona fide star of this team. That's what I'm hoping for. This team, in order to continue this trajectory, this upward trajectory, they really do need Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe to develop, to hit, to cash in. Anytime you spend that type of draft capital on players, you need them to hit badly, especially in the NBA. And they have that. So, we'll see how things continue to shake out. I think Shaedon Sharpe, before this knee stress reaction or whatever the heck that is, he was showing signs, glimpses of, what he can be with his athleticism, his shot making, his smarts. We're seeing, throughout the course of the year before he was sidelined, Sharpe being more engaged defensively. I just like the signs that I'm seeing from both guys. But Scoot's great. The attitude, the approach, the work ethic, it's all right there. I thought he was great last night. The way he can change the tempo of a game with his energy, his willingness to be aggressive defensively, almost to the point where it's caused him some issues because his aggressiveness on defense has gotten him in early foul trouble a couple times over the last 2 weeks. But I really like that. And I know the team was really pleased with his defensive progress at, second half of last season. So I just like this transition that we're seeing with Scoot right now. And they need him. They need him to be productive. They need him to change games. They need his energy. He can do a lot of different things for the team out there. And I think his veteran teammates trust him to make the right decision. But he, like Drew Holiday and everyone else on the team, you got to cut down on the turnovers. You got to cut down on them. The turnovers are going to be the death of this team. When you start facing better teams like the Clippers, they got 2 road games remaining on the schedule, which will be tough in San Antonio and Denver. But the 2 most important games are those ones against L.A., and you cannot turn it over 21 or 24 times and expect to beat the Clippers. They're too good. They're too talented. And it's a tough matchup, so you got to be better with the basketball, and Scoot Henderson has to be better at protecting the basketball. But in terms of overall development, I like where he's at right now, and we'll see. But I went through the schedule. I projected 45 wins for the Blazers, but I think Right now, I think what's realistic is probably 42 or 43, so they're going to finish with a winning record. But if you look at the rest of their schedule, right now they've got 37 wins. Obviously, I think they're going to beat Dallas and Washington. That'll put them at 39. Let's assume the game Tuesday in L.A. against the Clippers is a loss. New Orleans at home should be a win. That puts them at 40. At Denver, at San Antonio. Based on that stage of the season, I think the Spurs are going to be resting, so I'll give them a split. That'll put them at 41, and then I think they get the 2 wins at home against the Clippers in Sacramento, or maybe they drop another game to the Clippers, maybe. So they'll be right there at 42 or 43 wins at the end of the year, and that would be a 6 to 7 game improvement based on what they did last year. So it's not perfect. It's not ultimately where we want them to be, but we're seeing growth, and primarily because of the young core, Donovan Clingan especially. But Denny Avdia has been awesome. He's been their best player throughout the course of the year. The value of Donovan Clingan, what the flashes, the glimpses we saw from Shaden Sharp, and now what we're seeing from Scoot Henderson as he's getting a chance to play big minutes down the stretch coming off that hamstring injury. It is opening day in baseball in addition to everything else we're seeing with the NCAA tournament. Right now, Purdue's got a 1-point lead on Texas, 24-23 with 9:16 to play in the first half. Top of the ninth in St. Louis, the Cardinals, a 9-7 lead on the Rays, but the Rays right now have the bases loaded. Diamondbacks and Dodgers coming up at 5:30 on Peacock. Yamamoto will get the opening day start for the Dodgers. Guardians and Mariners, 7:10 first pitch from T-Mobile Park. Logan Gilbert gets the call for Seattle. And then the other finals today, a lot of action. Phillies over the Rangers, Tigers over the Padres. Angels blank the Astros in Houston. Red Sox shut out the Reds. Orioles over the Twins 2-1. Nationals put up 10 runs to top the Cubs 10-4. And the Brewers routed the White Sox 14-2. Mets day one winners against the Pirates 11-7. So it's great to have baseball back. We were talking with Justin Ballenger, the sportsbook manager, earlier. The Dodgers right now are the prohibitive favorites to win the World Series at plus 220. The problem is there's no value in taking the Dodgers at plus 220 right now to win the series. He said it's probably best to wait until later on in the year or in the postseason. If they drop a game, you can still get them at great value. And that's exactly what we saw last year in the World Series against Toronto. At one point going into Game 6, you could get them at like plus 350 to win the series. So that's where we're at. And it's great to have baseball back. The Mariners should be really good this year. And that's really what I want to do. I always follow the Dodgers, but I'm going to really lock in on the Mariners this year. I want them to get back and have a chance to get to the World Series. I had so much fun watching their playoff run last year and that journey through the postseason with the Tigers and that awesome series against the Blue Jays. Fun. That was good times. The Hops are going to open up their season coming up next week. And don't forget their home opener in their brand new ballpark is going to be on April 7th. And I can't wait to get out there. I'm going to be live doing the show from 3 until 6. John Sakanik and I are going to do a Catch 365 on the field before the game. And then I'll be there to celebrate the opening of the new ballpark. And I would encourage you to get out there. I have not been in the park since it's been completed, but I've seen it from 26 when you're driving by. It's beautiful. It's spectacular. Like, I'm totally down with that whole setup, and I'm just proud of KL and everything all the work they put in to be able to get that park done. So it's great to have ball back. And, you know, I've got to be honest with you, going to games the last few years, sitting in the ballpark, watching baseball with the pitch clock, genius, because you're getting games in less than 3 hours. Get a chance to enjoy yourself and enjoy the environment. And it's fun. It's good times. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Also a reminder, I'll have Sean Hyken on tomorrow. He's been on the road over the last couple of weeks, but he was at the owners' meetings. And obviously Tom Dundon's going to be confirmed. He had a chance to talk with Adam Silver, the commissioner. But the other thing he did that was really great, and I would encourage you to go to rosegardenreport.com and read his piece on it. He went through and listened to a bunch of different interviews, podcasts, all these different media outlets that had Tom Dundon on over the last several years to get an idea of what Tom Dundon is all about as an owner. You know, so we know what to expect as Trailblazer fans. And so the detail that Hyken went into to lay out what Dundon's been all about during his time with the Hurricanes in Carolina with the NHL team it gives you a good idea of what his mindset is. Very competitive, wants to win, doesn't believe in tanking. Like, this is a guy who's going to be ultra aggressive, and he's a big believer in investing in the product on the court. He's going to spend money on the players, and it seems like he's really big on fan experience, lowering prices, keeping the family in mind, and looking at the game as entertainment and putting a team on the floor that produces that type of entertainment. And I think that's great. So we have all of the basketball games going on right now, and it's pretty awesome because right now Purdue is up on Texas by 3, 26-23. Iowa and Nebraska getting ready to tip off. And so we got all these games going on, and then, it's going to go throughout the weekend because you got Sweet 16 today and tomorrow, and you got the Elite 8 games on Saturday, Sunday. Now, I'll be back down here at the BetMGM Sportsbook on Saturday from 10 until 1. I'm here until 6 tonight with the show, and I've got giveaways for today and Saturday, but I encourage you to come down and join me. The traffic and the weather today was beautiful for a drive down into the valley, but the Sportsbook is Vegas style, so you got the open seating, the cushy chairs, and then if you want to get in on the action, everything you need with the in-game betting, sides, parlays, teasers, totals, everything's right here, and a wonderful, friendly staff to be able to assist you with any needs that you could possibly have. They got the beautiful resort if you want to make a weekend out of it. But here next to the Sportsbook, I'm looking at the Stadium Bar and 10 Barrel Brewing right now, where you can get your food and your beverage and be able to watch the games. And, so far it's been fun because the Sportsbook right now is filling up. They were packed for the first weekend of the tournament, and we got a lot of people watching the games right now. But this is good times. Good times. And you know me, I hate Texas, so anytime Texas is in a position where they could possibly go down in flames, I'm all about that. Not down with the Longhorns. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. So we heard from Scoot, 23 points last night, had a big night. And Tamani Kamara had a chance to talk about the mindset of this club after the game. Let's take a listen to Tamani.
Like you understand the assignment. What does that mean to you?
Just trust the process. Keep learning how to play with one another. The intensity that we have to do to bring throughout the whole game. I think that was the biggest thing. And I feel like, we found in the rhythm, the way we play, no matter who we play. We playing together. We playing hard on a lot of possession, and we have a small amount of drops, I would say.
It seemed like that was not maybe 2 weeks ago. You guys were not on that sort of energy. What do you think shifted?
It's ups and downs in this league, like with a team like us, when a lot of dudes is their first year in this team, trying to figure out how we play, our style of play, get used to play with one another. It takes time. Sometimes some teams take longer than others, so it's just by finding a rhythm. And every year I feel like towards the end of the year we were able to find the rhythm as a team. And I feel like this time we get more comfortable with one another, and we should start believing one another and playing the right way.
With the playing spot secure, what's the thing that the team trying to do so that it will go further, and what are some focus for the couple games left?
Game by game, we can't project ourselves too far in the future. That's my mindset. I feel like that should be our mindset. Just focus on winning every game that we're going into. And if we do that, if we approach this game the right way every time, I feel like we're going to be in the right spot.
It would be a fresh experience for most youngers in the team. Is there a conversation between the youngers and the veterans yet right now, or is it focusing?
Not really. Like I said, it's focusing on the day. Don't project yourself too far and not in the past. I feel like just be where you are, and I think that's the biggest thing for us as a team. If we take this challenge day by day, I feel like we're going to be just fine.
But has Tiago or have you guys just sort of kind of laid out what's ahead for you if you take care of the business and then you go into LA and all that? Like, have you had those conversations?
Anything can happen, like it's basketball, it's a game of runs. There's a lot of good teams out here, so we're just trying to, like I said, focus on the day.
So you're saying you don't look at the standings?
Whether you look at the standings or not, you need to win every basketball game.
Sure.
So if you focus on the day, you're going to be just fine if you take care of the day.
Was there a moment on that road trip, though? Because Tiago had mentioned that the team has become more aware of the standings, just they're becoming more important. Was there a moment after a loss where he gave like a speech about that, or really pressed it into your guys' minds that the time is now, that you need to make a move?
Yeah, we know that every game is important throughout that time. I'm keeping repeating myself.
I got you. Yeah.
It's basketball, so we just come out here. If you're able to win every game that you're going into, then you're taking care of business. If you're thinking about 4 games from now, then you're not taking care of today. It doesn't make sense. So it's all about focusing on where we are right now and taking care of every game. Like he said, every game is important. Every game is important, so we got to take care of the last 8 that we have before the postseason. And like I said, we're going to be just fine.
So you know how many games are left. You are looking at the schedule.
I mean, how's everybody?
There you go. There's Tamani Kamara repeating himself a few times. But, yeah, just take care of business. I think that's the best way to approach it. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Don't worry about the Clippers or the Suns or the Warriors. Focus on what you have to do to be a better basketball team. I think that's critical. You've got to do it. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me coming up at 5:20. I certainly appreciate your time on this Thursday. I'm live here in the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino for Sweet 16 action. And right now we got Nebraska on top of Iowa 16-6, 5 minutes into the game. And right now Purdue with a 3-point lead, 28-25 on Texas in the first half with 6:34 to play. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Man, Brendan, we were just talking about Sherwood. Travis Demers lives out in Sherwood. Brendan Slaughter, who is with me right now, he lives out in Sherwood. And we all know 99 out in Sherwood. You got to be careful because there's a couple of those photo radar cameras where it'll get you if you're speeding, or if you go through the light and it turns red and you're still in the intersection. You'll get one of those nice little notices in the mail where you got to show up and pay a ticket. And I've been hit by that before years ago. Brendan's been hit by it. I don't know if Travis has or not, but they're real sticklers out in Sherwood on the the speed and the intersections there. So Brendan was telling me that he got a ticket in the mail for going 6 miles per hour over, and the judge did not provide any relief whatsoever. It was like a $300 ticket. That's total insanity. I hate that kind of stuff. Let's see here. What are we going to do? I did see a sign today before I drove down to Spirit Mountain Casino. I was in this parking lot, and I saw the sign. And there's moments in life where you see things. I don't know if you've experienced this, but it restores your hope in humanity. And when I saw this sign, it restored my hope in humanity, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. And I feel like every business should have this in their parking lot. No back-in parking, please. When I saw that sign, I took a picture of it, and I was like, okay, this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's few things in the earth that are worse than back-end guy. You know, you pull into a parking lot, you go to get a cup of coffee to the grocery store, restaurant, wherever you're at. There's always that one person that feels like they're special, or somehow they're better than you, so they've got to back their car in. Like somehow that gives them an inherent advantage when they actually leave the establishment. So they back in. And the problem is you pull in to get your coffee in the morning, you got back-end guy like trying to, take an extra 2 minutes to properly, position his rig in the parking spot because he's backing in. It's like, hey, I've got things I've got to do too, man. Hurry up with the back-end thing. So I saw that sign, no back-end parking, please. It's one of the greatest things ever. Love that sign. Whoever put that there deserves some type of medal or raise or whatever. No back-end parking, please. That's the way I live my life. So bad. But those photo radar deals are horrible. My dad, when he was driving back, when my brother passed away, so they had to bring a bunch of stuff back because they were out in Georgia, then they went to Illinois. They had to bring a bunch of stuff back because they were handling some of the affairs, for my brother, with his estate and stuff. So they drove his truck back after they visited some people in Illinois, family in Illinois. They drove all the way back to the Northwest in the truck. And I forgot where it was. I think it was a small town in Nebraska maybe, or Wyoming. It was some small, like one of those really tiny towns. And my dad, I guess the speed limit went from like 35 to 25, or I forgot what the speed limit range was, but it was something like that, where you're in one area and then all of a sudden it drops real quickly, much like when you're driving out to Milwaukee on 99 and all of a sudden that or is that 99 or 213? I think it's 99. But anyways, you're driving out towards Milwaukee, that area where all of a sudden it goes from like 40 to 30 in a heartbeat, and they're real sticklers out there in Milwaukee too on the speed. Well, that happened to my dad. He got one of those photo radar things in the mail, and it was only for like, I don't know, $40 or $50. But his first thought was like, well, the truck's registered to your brother. He's no longer with us, so I don't feel like I should have to pay it. So my dad, of course, because he walks the straight and narrow, he was struggling with what to do. So I just said, here, give me the website. I just paid the ticket for him because I did not want my dad to go through the agony, because my dad's one of those guys where like he's so straight and narrow that even though nothing would have happened because my brother was gone, it would have bothered him for the rest of his life had he not paid the ticket. So I just paid it for him. Like, here, let me just handle this right now. I'm going to settle this matter. You don't have to worry about it anymore, and there'll be no grip session. And so he's like, well, thank you, son. I said, no problem, Dad. And that's how we handled that. Right now, the scores, I'll get you up to date on what's going on in the NCAA tournament. And we have 2 games underway in the Sweet 16. You've got the 2-seed Purdue taking on the 11-seed Texas in the West region. Right now, Purdue a 2-point lead, 32-30 on Texas. And in the other game, Nebraska a 25-20 lead on Iowa with 11 minutes to play in the first half. That is out of the South region, the 9-4 matchup. And the crazy part about the Huskers, they had never experienced a tournament win in their school's history until this year, and they've won back-to-back games to get to the Sweet 16. And so we got a good matchup there. and it's been a lot of fun to watch. So we'll see how these games shake out. Arkansas, Arizona coming up at 6:45, and then at 7:05 you get this bruiser out of the South, the 3-seed Illinois taking on the 2-seed Houston. All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, talking ball with me at 5:20. I'm live from the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports. Parlays, teasers, totals, sides, in-game betting, everything you could possibly want in one space, in one place. And I'll be down here on Saturday from 10 to 1 for the Elite Eight. So get down here where the action never stops. All right, the Sweet 16 is underway right now. Halftime in the West region, the 11 seed Texas and the 2 seed Purdue. Right now, the Boilermakers with a 39-35 lead. First half in the South region, we have Nebraska on top of Iowa, 32-24, with 8:23 to play in the first half. Games coming up later on tonight. Out of the West, the 4 seed Arkansas taking on the 1 seed Arizona. The Cats favored by 7.5. And in the South, the 3 seed Illinois taking on the 2 seed Houston. And the Cougars are a 2.5-point favorite. The Trailblazers going to be back in action tomorrow night. They host the Dallas Mavericks. Tip-off will be at 7. Chris Burkhardt will have Game Day Live from Moda at 5. Portland has won 5 of their last 6. They're back at 500, and they're a half game behind the Clippers, who are in 8th right now in the Western Conference play-in standings. I'm live here at the sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino for the Sweet 16. All right, halftime right now. Purdue on top of Texas, 39-35 in the West region. And first half in the South, Nebraska on top of Iowa, 32-24. Arkansas, Arizona coming up at 6:45 out of the West. And from the South, Illinois and Houston. That game will tip off at 7:05. I'm live here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino, hanging out and watching the games with the rest of the people down here. And I'll be back on Saturday from 10 until 1 live here on Rip City Radio 620. So your chance to come down and hang out. I've got giveaways that I'll be handing out here in about an hour. I'll have more giveaways for Saturday. So come down and join us. It's a great spot to watch basketball and hang out. You've got everything you want with open seating, cushy chairs, Vegas-style setup with the sportsbook, and parlays, teasers, totals, sides, in-game betting, everything you could possibly want as you continue to take in the tournament action. Major League Baseball opening day, which is awesome. Diamondbacks and Dodgers coming up at 5:30 on Peacock. The Mariners will host the Guardians at T-Mobile Park. Now that game's first pitch at 7:10. Logan Gilbert gets the start for Seattle tonight. So a lot of good things going on and a number of games that have already gone down today. So baseball is underway. March Madness is in full swing, and the Trailblazers are in the midst of their stretch run. And Brian Noe's happy because he already cashed in on the over 34.5 on the season. He also got an adjusted line at over 38.5, and that should cash in on Sunday after the Blazers beat the Mavericks tomorrow and the hapless Wizards on Sunday. So it's all good. And Brian Noe's going to come up and join us here in about 15 to 20 minutes to talk ball, and we'll get his take on the tournament. I think he's down in Las Vegas right now, so it's going to be cool to have him set the scene for what it's like down in Vegas. My buddy Steve lives down there, but I know friends and have friends who have made annual trips down to Vegas for the tournament, especially over the first weekend of the tourney, which is nice. So loving these games right now. Nebraska has just pushed their lead out to 10 with 8 minutes to play first half on top of Iowa. And it's halftime with Texas and Purdue. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number here. If you want to reach out on the Rip City Drive, Brendan Slaughter is with me. You can hit me up on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. And I'll be back tomorrow with the Rip City Drive at 3 from Moda Center before the Blazer game. And Sean Highkin will join me and give me all the details on his deep dive on Tom Dundon and also on what he picked up on with the Moda Center renovations and everything from Adam Silver. So Sean Highkin's been doing some good work, and I would encourage you to check him out by heading over to rosegardenreport.com. Justin Ballenger, the sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino, joined me at the start of the show at 3:20 and gave some insight on a couple of games. The one game he said that was interesting here earlier today with this Nebraska-Iowa game, 90% of the money is on Nebraska, but the line has had that reverse movement where it's gone towards Iowa, and so he was intrigued by that. But the games he really likes are the ones that we're going to have tomorrow with a couple of matchups. He loves Duke over St. John's in that matchup tomorrow at 4:10 on CBS. Right now, Duke is a 6.5-point favorite. The other game he likes is Michigan State plus the 1.5 against Utah. So he likes Michigan State and he likes Duke. Those are the two games he focused on. And the first game that will tip off tomorrow will be St. John's and Duke, the 5-1 matchup in the East. That Michigan State-UConn game is a 6:45 start. It's going to be on CBS. And right now, UConn is favored by 1.5. So checking out the games. And we're just chilling, watching some ball. And for the Blazers, it's very simple. I want to explain this again in case you're still trying to get familiar with, the layout of the play-in tournament and what the Blazers are playing for. If you look at the Western Conference playoff standings right now, the Blazers are 9th, and they're a half game behind the Clippers, who are currently in 8th. Now, usually the way the NBA playoffs work before the play-in tournament, the top 8 teams get in. Those are your postseason participants. But now what they've done is you take the top 6 in each conference. And right now in the West, it's Oklahoma City, San Antonio, the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Wolves, and the Houston Rockets. That's your top 6. Those teams are automatically into the postseason. And then you have teams 7 through 10. And those 4 teams will compete for the final 2 spots in the Western Conference playoffs. And how it works is the 7 seed hosts the 8 seed, and the winner of that game becomes the 7 seed in the postseason. And then the 9 team, which is Portland, would host the 10 team, which is Golden State. The winner of that game would play the loser of the 7-8 matchup, and that winner would move on to become the 8 seed in the Western Conference playoffs. So that's how it's going to work. Now, the advantage for Portland, if they can move up to 8th, is that they only need 1 win to get into the postseason. And you would have the opportunity to become the 7th seed, which I think would be, maybe a little bit better of a matchup against San Antonio than it would be against Oklahoma City, but that's what you're playing for. So the Blazers right now, a half game behind the Clippers. Portland's got 8 games remaining. The Clippers have 9, but they're going to face each other twice the rest of the way. First one's going to be down in L.A. next Tuesday, and then Portland will host the Clippers the game before the regular season finale. And so I think based on the way the schedule sets up, for Portland to get to 8th, they're probably going to have to win both games against the Clippers, probably. And that's going to be a tough matchup because the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard, very tough. And it's a tough matchup for Portland, but you're probably going to need to win both. But those are the games, if you want to know the key games to focus on the rest of the way, because the majority of games for Portland on their schedule are against teams that are, jockeying for, lottery balls. I would say that, the most important thing to focus on if you're the Trailblazers, it's the Clippers games. So if you're watching the games, the Clipper games are going to be the most important. They do have 2 tough road games the rest of the way. They've got to go to Denver and San Antonio. But that's kind of what we're looking at. So there you have it. The 2 most important games are the Clipper games, 2 tough road games with Denver and the Clippers, or Denver and the Spurs, and then the rest of the schedule are against teams who are focused on lottery position. So that's what's left for the Blazers. They'll be in the play-in. So I can guarantee postseason basketball. They've already clinched that spot. The question is, are they going to be able to make the postseason or not? That's going to be the key question. And we'll find out. But I like the way that this young core is coming together. They've got a chance over the next 2.5 weeks to develop more continuity now that, the majority of the roster, aside from Shaden, is healthy. And I like their mindset and their approach. And they're getting good play from a variety of different people. Donovan Klingen's playing great ball. Scoot Henderson had 23 last night. Denny Avdia is healthy and is back to playing his physical brand of basketball. Like, they're just doing you're getting a lot of good play. Robert Williams has been valuable off the bench. Matisse Thybulle off the bench has been valuable with his defense and quickness. You're just getting a lot of good things like that. So I like what I see right now from the Blazers. But they got things they got to work on. Limit turnovers. Turnovers are the worst in the NBA. Make sure that they do a better job of making a higher percentage of their free throws, making sure that they have the right mindset to start games with the proper purpose. Rebounding is always critical for them, especially on the offensive glass, because they need to rebound well because they're not a great shooting team, and stay connected defensively. Their defense at times is good, but the first half against Brooklyn Monday and then last night against Milwaukee, not great. They can be better. But I would also argue that it's got to be difficult, when you come out and you're going to be playing teams like Brooklyn and, Milwaukee, these teams that are tanking. Like, it's hard to, it's just hard to stay focused at all times. They're only human. You look at the roster, you see the players you're playing, it's just not the same. It's kind of brutal. All right now Nebraska on top of Iowa 40-32. 3:55 to go in the first half. And then it's still, I believe, halftime. Right now, a 4-point lead, Purdue on top of Texas, 39-35. And I think they were laying 8.5 in that game. So that's what we're looking at. This Iowa-Nebraska game, the pace has been pretty good in the first half, so that could be setting up for a pretty good second half. It's now a 5-point game, 40-35. And they just called a timeout. 3:32 left in the first half, 40-35, Nebraska on top of Iowa. So good action in the NCAA tournament. How many of you, what was the question I was going to ask? Someone came up to me earlier and said, what do you think is the biggest betrayal with a team moving to another city that you've seen in sports? And, I think that probably has to do with the time in which you grew up and where you grew up. For some people that live in Ohio, they would say the Browns, leaving town and going to Baltimore. If you're older and, you might say the Giants going to San Francisco or the Dodgers going from Brooklyn to L.A. Sonic fans would say that, it's probably when, Clay Bennett ripped the team from Seattle and moved to Oklahoma City. I just thought that was an interesting question. Or if, for all of us, we may think one team now, but if the Blazers were to leave Rip City and go somewhere else, we would think that that's the biggest betrayal. But I thought that was a good question. I hadn't really thought about that. I think anytime a team leaves, like when the Bearing family tried to, rob Seattle to the Seahawks and move them down to L.A. before Paul Allen stepped in to save everything, that was a pretty big betrayal. Anytime you're leaving under the cover of darkness, something bad's getting ready to go down. You ever notice that? Just like when you're kids, nothing good happens between the hours of like midnight and 5 in the morning. It's the same thing with sports. If your team's trying to leave town in the middle of the night with the cover of darkness, nothing good's going on. All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, my good brother, is down in Vegas. We'll talk tourney with him. I've got a proposition for Brian to offer him up a rematch for our free throw shooting contest when I dominated him, when he made 49 out of 100, which is embarrassing. And we'll talk a little football with him as well. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio is coming up next. I'm live here at The Place, the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports and hang out and watch the tournament. Sweet 16 action today and tomorrow, Elite 8 Saturday and Sunday, and everything you need in one spot. Food, beverage, I have giveaways, parlays, teasers, totals, sides, everything you want in regards to the sports wagering. It's all right here at Spirit Mountain Casino. Brian Noe is coming up next. All right, very happy to head to Las Vegas right now. Joining me is my brother from another mother from Fox Sports Radio, the one, the only, B-NOE! Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, B-NOE?
Chad Doing, what is going on, buddy? I'll tell you what, I do love Pete, the voiceover guy, but you gotta get like more doing in the intros right there, the rejoins, or just splice me in there. I'll do it. Like copy and paste me into that thing.
Well, you and I came up with a brilliant idea this week. Next time Brian Noe and I seen each other in person, I'm going to hand him my phone, and I'm going to have him record my name. You know that deal where someone will call you, and the phone picks up and says, "You've reached Chad Doing." I'm going to have Brian Noe say, "Chad Doing," and that would be awesome. So we're going to do that. But this is the most important thing I've got to say to you all day. I've got a proposition for you, and this came up from Tony and Boring, who loves you and me. And he had a great idea, and so I'm going to offer this to you right now. No stipulations. I want to offer you a rematch at our free throw shooting contest, best of 100, wherever you want to do it, whenever you want to do it. No stipulations, but I think we need to rematch now. Enough time has passed. I believe that 49 was a blip in the radar, and you deserve a shot at redemption.
I love that idea. It should be on pay-per-view. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I feel like we could do a ton of buys across the nation, But yes, you piqued my interest with no stipulations, because the fine print of what happened last time is I was allowed to practice before shooting 100 NBA three-pointers. So I practiced a little bit, not crazy, but I got some shots up and got acquainted to the line. And then no practice allowed for the 100 free throws against you. And so I honored the deal, as my 49 made free throws will show you. They'll attest for, right? So if I can practice this time, I'm going to get some shots up, and I promise I will do way better than 49.
Okay, good. Well, we got to set this up. I will practice, you practice, and then once we figure out a place and a time, we've got to do it, because I think it'd be a lot of fun. And none of that, but what kind of man would I be if I did not offer up an opportunity to rematch? I feel like I've got the championship belt, and what good am I if I don't allow the challenger to rematch and have a shot at the title again? You know what I'm saying?
I completely know what you're saying, yes. And it was funny because when I was still in town, instead of offering me a rematch, you offered me, I had to get to a baseline number for you to then entertain the idea of a rematch. And I did. I got to that number, whatever it was, and it's still no rematch, which is fine. But it's a slow burn with you, Chad Doing. You got to... it's like pro wrestling, right? You got to let it marinate a little bit and get the people more enticed. So I can respect that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I still love the 49 T-shirts. Every time I think about that, I giggle.
You know what's funny? I still will rock out my 41. I made 41 T-shirts when I made the threes, and I wore that to the Duke game. I was on TV in my 41 shirt, and no one cares. No one. They're like, where's the 49 shirt, though, Brian? That's all we remember. So that's the cross I bear right now.
Isn't it funny how life works? No one remembers the great things that you did. They only remember the mistake. Like when I think of Chris Webber, I only think about the timeout, not any of the other things he did throughout his college career, the way he changed culture with his teammates in college, or his NBA career, which was pretty darn good. I just remember him calling a timeout that he didn't have in the Final Four.
You're right. Yeah, isn't that wild? Where the years he was at Michigan, complete baller, and he had a respectable NBA career, pretty good NBA career. And man, if it wasn't for the refs and going up against the Lakers, especially one of those years in particular, where Kobe just took a forearm shiver to the back of Mike Bibby's head, and the refs were like, I think that's legal. It's like if they didn't have home cooking for the Lakers, man, and the Kings won a title. They had some great teams in those Webber years, man.
Yeah, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, where you can do many great things over many great years, but you remember for one thing. If I mention the name Gary Anderson, what comes to mind?
That's right. Missed field goal, NFC title game against the Falcons. I will never forget it. He didn't miss a field goal all year except that one. And it was like a 38-yarder, totally makeable. would have given him a 10-point lead. And, yeah, a really good NFL career, some spectacular NFL seasons, and that's all he's known for. It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy, though? Or when I say Leon Lett?
Yep, totally. Same thing. Really
Yeah.
good NFL career, good defensive lineman. And you just know him for 2 blunders, right? He's got 2 of them. The Thanksgiving Day debacle against my Dolphins where he tried to recover a blocked field goal when he didn't need to. The game was over. And he booted it. Miami got it, and they re-kicked the field goal and won it. And then Don Beebe in the Super Bowl. Man, we all know the blunders, but, that's all we remember him for. That's crazy, too, man. That's how it goes.
Yeah, and Gary Anderson made, throughout the course of his career, which was 23 NFL seasons, he connected on 80.1% of his field goals over the course of that entire span. Like, that is an insane number. That's incredibly accurate, but yet we only remember him for the most important kick of his life that he missed. That is unreal.
It is. It really is unreal. And the funny thing, too, I don't think he had the jitters. Chad, like, going onto the field to kick that field goal, you're up 7. I don't think for a second it crossed his mind like, hey, if I miss this field goal, this opens the door for I don't think he even thought that. I think he just went on the field. All right, business as usual. Oh, shoot. And then everything just changed from that moment on. Just wild.
Yeah. Even Phil Mickelson, who's one of the greatest golfers of all time. When I think of Phil, even with the majors that he has, I still think about his meltdown in the U.S. Open at Winged Foot more than anything else.
Wow. Or Greg Norman. Think about the Greg Norman.
Oh, the Masters. With Nick Faldo.
The Open Championship, I think it was that, where I forget the name, man, like Van de Velde or whatever. He just melted down.
He melted down.
So bad, man, so bad.
Oh, that's so painful. I remember watching that Masters. I was pulling for Norman at the time. I wanted to see him to get over and get the green jacket, and it was painful. I almost had to stop watching because he continued to just fade, and Faldo, who is like the last guy you want tracking you down because he's so clutch. Oh, my goodness. Those moments in sports give me anxiety. But Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, is with us. So what do you think about the tournament right now? Where's your action at, and what do you think about the games here in the Sweet 16?
Well, I'm fired up for him, Chad. I mean, that's the first thing is what great matchups that we have. And, of course, there's lack of Cinderellas, lack of, double-digit seeds, all that type of stuff, upsets. But it does make the Sweet 16 matchups pretty enticing. And when you're seeing a lot of, 1 versus 4, seeding-wise, 2s versus 3s, it's like, man, we got some great matchups. So that's the first thing that jumps off the page is we've got some, think of a concert, and if you drive by the venue and when you see the signage and everything, it's like they're not having to sell something, like oversell something. It's like it just sells itself, man. These games, you put it on a marquee, it's like, oh, gosh, we do have some headliners in the Sweet 16. So that's the first thing I'm very fired up about the matchups.
Yeah, I love the matchups in the Sweet 16. I was talking with Justin Ballenger, the sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino earlier. A couple of games that he likes tomorrow in the second day of the Sweet 16. He does like Duke minus the points against St. John's. I actually like the under in that game because of the way both teams have been slowing down the pace. He also likes Michigan State plus the 1.5 against UConn. So that's who Justin likes tomorrow.
Interesting, yeah. I could see why. I mean, it's interesting. I think you could make a good argument for both sides in a lot of these games, Chad, right? Like, especially with the points involved. But, yeah, I'm really interested in that Sparty-UConn game. I respect both coaches. I do.
Me too.
I mean, look, man, I'm not trying to talk trash about Izzo because that would be silly. But I will talk trash about – I don't know why we glorified the Final Four in only college basketball. We don't care about the Final Four in anything but college basketball. And that's just weird to me, right? Like, it's very hard to make it to the Final Four of the NBA playoffs or the NFL playoffs or you name it. And we just don't care at all that you made it there when it's probably even harder than making it there in college basketball. So the thing with Izzo, I really respect him as a head coach. He's made the Final Four a bunch of times. I think a half dozen times, right around there. One ring. Got to see more jewelry, Izzo. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. He's only got one ring. And you know what's crazy, too? Like, there are a lot of coaches like that get all this love, and yet what have they done? That's really the question. And you're right, Izzo is – what's funny about Izzo, I was covering – this is back in like 06. I was covering an Adidas Superstar tournament, and I had never covered a tournament like that where you have all these basketball players in one spot. But what was amazing is, like, all the big-name coaches in the game at the time were there who showed up to watch these guys because they were recruiting. So I'm talking about Coach K and Mark Few, Tom Izzo. Every single big-name coach was there. But I'll say this about Izzo. He's like the one guy I've seen it. He does not stand out with stature. He's very short. But when he walked in, he commanded like a certain amount of respect, and he had a certain aura about him, which was great. But you're right, one championship, that's it. And look at how long he's been coaching at the same spot.
I know it. Look, man, I'm not saying he's got a bad resume. He doesn't. It's just funny. If you look at John Calipari, who I swear, if anybody says anything nice about him, he must be like, holy cow, it finally happened. I got a compliment along the way. If you look at what they've done, Final Fours, championships, very comparable. Now, I know immediately people are going to be like, well, look at the NBA guys that Coach Cal has had, and that's true. But you know as well as I do, Chad, if you look at the Final Fours, the championships, it's funny that Tom Izzo is put on top of a pedestal, and it is just nonstop trash talk about John Calipari. It's not like he had, NBA guys galore at UMass. Come on. I think you got to give Cal some credit and not just dog him and put Izzo in glorified air. It's just weird how that breaks down.
No, it's true. It's a great point. Do you think it's going to be one of the top seeds that wins the tournament, or do you think one of these teams maybe at the 2 slot or somewhere else flying under the radar like Houston or maybe Purdue can rise up and win the title? How do you see it shaking out?
Yeah, man, I would say it's going to be hard. I'd put my money on one of the ones winning it all. They just seem to be a cut above. But I don't know how you think of it, Chad. The way I think of it is, if you look at roughly the top 8 teams, and obviously Florida would have been in that mix and they're out. But if you look at the top 8 teams, it's going to be really hard to, snatch the title away from them, right? But I think that the pool is deep enough, especially now that we're in the Sweet 16, where those top 8 teams, they can be had on any night. So I just think the teams that are outside that top group, it's going to be hard for them to get to the Final Four. It's going to be hard for them to win it all, get to the championship game, all that stuff. But they're more than capable of beating the top teams in any given game. So that's why I think from here on out it's going to be really interesting.
Well, I think congratulations are in order, Brian, because number one, you have cashed ticket number 1, courtesy of the Portland Trailblazers, for going over their season total set in Vegas at 34.5. And as you informed me, and you sent me a picture of the ticket, you also got the adjusted line of 38.5 because you got better odds on that. And that should cash in coming up on Sunday after games against Dallas tomorrow and Washington on Sunday. So they got a little bit shaky there for a bit, but they have righted the ship with these bum opponents, and they're taking care of business for you, man. The Blazers are playing for B-NOE right now.
Well, hey, man, I give you all the credit on that one, Chad. I just saw your brilliant video that you posted on Facebook, and I'm like, man, this is before the season, and Chad just laid out in bullet point fashion why the Blazers will soar over 34.5. And I was like, my guy Chad made a pretty good argument right there. I'm in. Where's my sportsbook account? Where's my phone at? I got in on that, and I am so happy I did, man, because they soared over that 34.5, and they've got over 38.5 on the adjusted line right in their sights right here. So you came through for me in flying colors. I give you all the credit for that one.
Here's what Tony suggests now. He wants us to do our free throw rematch locally, and we could take donations for admission to donate to charity. Like, that is a genius idea.
I'm up for it, man. If you can make it as wild and wacky as possible, I think that's way better. And I think we should probably go back to the scene of the crime, right? Where we at? Was it Portland or Portland State that we were at?
Yeah, PSU, Portland State. Yep.
Yeah. Oh man, I've got bad memory. I got the yips, right? Like I was at South Point, they had this huge watch party, Chad. They had like 3,500 people in this big convention room, and they had these 2 hoops set up. You'd shoot free throws. I airballed 2 free throws in a row, and they were like, "Get out." That was it. And it was funny, too, because there was a guy heckling me in, like, true Portland fashion. I was there with a girl I know, Chad, and he's just booing me. You know, and it got, like, to the point where it's like, I get it, man. Like, he's like, boo, boo. Like, he's stepping toward me, boo. And then he goes like this, Chad. He goes, hey, she did better than you. And just if I didn't hear him kind of like shouting this the first time, he doubles up, hey, she did better than you. I was like, I got it, man. I got it. Okay, I got it. Yeah. So
that's great, man. You have like a
free throws, thanks to you.
That's great. You got Philly fan watching you shoot free throws, man. That's amazing.
Oh, man.
It's Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio with us here. Hey, dude, that was pretty cool. I saw you post pictures. Did you have fun getting a chance to do some work down there in Vegas with your buddy Krakenberger?
Oh, yeah. It was great. It was great to see Crack. We've gone out to see hoops a couple of times. It was funny. I texted him today, and I was like, hey, man, you going anywhere for hoops tonight? And he goes, I've got some friends from Boston coming in. We're going to grab dinner. I'm not even watching it. I'm terrible. He'll probably make, I don't know, 5 figures tonight betting games. You're not even watching them. How crazy is that, Chad? That's to be a professional in this space, right?
Oh, my gosh. So he puts down the big cake, and then he just is like, you know what, I don't need that type of stress in my life. There's just, in my experience in my own life, there's just no way I can be that fully vested in something and not watch. Part of the joy is the agony of watching every single moment and getting irritated at every single moment all the way up until the victory happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. I like the non-gamblers just won't get it. You know, they won't understand what kind of sweat you go through. You know, it's like it's playing with your emotions the whole time. And you can attest to this, Chad. How many times did you get frustrated or angry and you ended up winning the bet and you're like, I'm a moron. All that frustration was for nothing. I won anyway. What's wrong with me? I'll tell you this, Chad, real fast. Crack is like the Yoda for sports bettors. You know what I mean? Like, I have never, ever seen him come close to sweating anything. Like, not even a little frustration, no anger, no sweat whatsoever. He just thinks of it as percentages. It's just a shoulder shrug. I missed that one. That's all right. I'm still going to hit about 57, 58%, and I'm going to be up at the end of the day. So who cares? Like, that's his whole mentality. And I'm like, man, if I could just be like that, forget about winning X percentage, X amount of money, just to be calm like that. It's just like, man, one day maybe, but you're wired differently than me. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's impressive right there. All right, B-NOE, Fox Sports Radio. My brother, I love talking with you, man. Have fun down in Vegas. I'm jealous you get a chance to enjoy the tournament down there. My buddy who lives down there said it's been warmer down in Vegas. Is that true? Warmer temperatures? What's going on down there?
Oh, it's so tremendous, man. I just went to a pizza place in town, and my guy Albert, Albert's like 82 years old. So I hung out with my guy Albert, and he goes, it's the hottest I've ever seen it in March. And he said he's been out here for 26 years. He's like, not even close. It's way hotter than it's ever been. I'm loving it, man. I've missed the sun so much. I would hug it if I could, but yeah, man, it feels fantastic here, Chad. It really does. I'm loving it.
All right, you're the man, dude. Hey, enjoy your night, and we'll talk soon, and I can't wait to get our rematch on the calendar.
I might skip supper and start shooting free throws. I might do that immediately, Chad. I'm going to be like Rocky Balboa. You know, I'm going to start doing like training drills and then hit the hard courts. You know, hit the hardwood, get some shots up here, work on my form. You know, I gotta clear my good name when we get it on for the second time.
If I see you before you walk out on the court to shoot your free throws, hit a couple of raw eggs like Rocky, I'll know I'm in trouble.
You know, you've given me ideas. We're going to pump this up like crazy, Chad. I'm going to start doing promotional videos and everything.
All right, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Chad, love you, buddy. Have a good night.
Love you, man. There's B-NOE, Fox Sports Radio. Love him. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Action right now, second half. Texas on top of Purdue, 49-47. And halftime, almost second half time with Iowa and Nebraska with the Huskers on top by 3 at 46-43. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers. I'm live from Spirit Mountain Casino and the BetMGM Sportsbook here on the Rip City Drive. All right, big thanks to our guest today. First off, Justin Ballenger, the sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino, for joining the show and talking Sweet 16. I enjoyed that. And then, of course, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. He's a good friend, and I really appreciate Brian. He's also ridiculously talented, but I always have fun talking with him. He makes me laugh, and I'm not joking about the rematch with the free throw contest. We'll do it again, and hopefully I'll get a chance to see him in the flesh in the near future. The lineup for the next couple of days, just so you can kind of etch this in your memory. So tomorrow, RipCityDrive at 3. I will be live from Moda Center. It'll be a 2-hour show because of the Blazer game. So I've got Dave Deckard from BlazersEdge.com coming on. Sean Hyken will join me. Connor Berggren from Blazers Edge. Talking a lot of basketball tomorrow. Can't wait for that conversation with Sean because of all the different things that he's been covering over the last couple of weeks. So that's coming up tomorrow. And then the tip-off tomorrow night with the Mavericks will be at 7. Chris Burkhart will have game day, which will start at 5 o'clock. Now, Saturday, I'm going to be back down here at Spirit Mountain Casino, and I would encourage you to join me. I'm going to be live on air from 10 until 1, and I'm going to be hanging out here all day and throughout the evening for watching basketball. And then I've got the payback drawings that I'll be hosting from 6 until 8. So come on down and join us here at Spirit Mountain Casino for the tournament action and the Elite 8, which will kick off on Saturday and we'll have on Sunday. And I'll be back down here on the 4th of April and the 6th for the Final Four and the championship game. So a lot of good things going on as we are now entering into a good pocket of sports. You know, it's always tough when you transition out of football, but it's nice to have, you know, some of the different action. But right now the games that are in action, second half in both games now, 10:20 remaining in the West with the 11-seed Texas on top of the 2-seed Purdue, 59-58. And great action second half in the South with Iowa and Nebraska. That game is tied up at 50, and it's been a great game because of the pacing and then the way that the two teams are shooting the basketball right now. It's been really good. So the pacing's been good. Both teams are shooting the ball at a high percentage, so it's been nice. The two games coming up later on tonight, Arkansas, the 4-seed, taking on the 1-seed Arizona in the West, and then the nightcapper at 7:05. Out of the South is the 3-seed Illinois taking on the 2-seed Houston. So that's what's going on. And then we got 4 more games tomorrow. Now, for the games that Justin Ballenger likes, tomorrow he likes Duke over St. John's. Right now the Dukies are minus 6.5. And then he likes Michigan State over UConn. And right now UConn is a 1.5-point favorite. But those are the games that he likes. And I've got 2 screens right above me right now. So I've got the Iowa-Nebraska game, which is good. That game's still tied up at 50. And Nebraska's just hit a 3 to take a 3-point lead. So Nebraska's back up by 3. Both teams are shooting the ball extremely well. 14 minutes to play. So these games, man, they go by quick. Quick. But good pacing. I like those games that are up and down, but it's nice when you see these teams in the tournament, you know, shooting a high percentage. So it's good. Makes for good action. And Iowa just, wow, it's been good. This is good times right now. All right, so 53-53. These two teams are just trading threes at an alarming rate. What's the shooting percentage on this right now? Both teams. So we got Nebraska. They're just trading threes right now. It's bombs away from both sides. Let's see here. So you got the shooting percentages right now. Iowa's shooting at 56%. They're 9 of 17 from downtown. Nebraska's shooting at 53%, and they're 9 of 20 from downtown. So, I mean, it's bombs away from both sides. Pretty wild, but good action. You can reach out on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. 88528. And so there you have it. And I'm looking forward. I would say I'm looking forward to the Illinois-Houston game. I think Houston's got a great chance to win the tournament. Love their defense and their rebounding. I just don't. I think this is going to be a tough matchup for them tonight, Illinois, even though it's a quasi-home game there in Houston. All right, big thanks to our Brendan Slaughter for engineering the program. You guys have a great night. Enjoy the tournament action. I'll talk to you tomorrow at 3, and make sure you're back down here. Join me at Spirit Mountain Casino. Saturday, I'll be live on air from 10 until 1. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.